Right. It is almost 2:30 in the morning, and I just wanted to talk about something. You know, in life, a question some people ask is why keep going? And some people do not have the answer to this question. And if they were to ask to somebody else, they would probably say, uh, look, look ahead in the world, or find something positive to think about. But some people might not have this positive thing, or some people just might not have anything going on in their life that would be deemed positive. Some people may be working their job, and their job might be getting to a point where it's either too much or it is not quite what they asked for, and there's not much they can do about it. And they try to get help, asking somebody for assistance, but they then say, oh, well, that's life, or welcome to adulting. But, 99% of the people, I'd say, in the back of their mind, that's not quite the response they were hoping for. Some people probably are looking for assistance with getting help for how to make life easier so that they could feel like living is worthwhile. Some people may not think that. And obviously, not ideal scenario for a select few who may think that living is not the best thing. Because obviously, if you think about it, if you were doing adult things like working and trying to make a living and your life was not fun in the slightest, would you really want to hear that's life as the response? I don't think so. I don't think anybody would want to hear that. But it would just make it significantly worse, in my opinion. It would make it way worse, and it would make you feel just like there's nobody who would understand because, well, some people just can't. Some people can only really talk about it if they've either experienced it and have crawled back out or are trained in that field to tell you the correct answer or maybe guide you to the correct path. But as an even smaller few of people who can't quite do the things that could maybe get them out of where they are unless they are helped. Like their hand needs to be held, or they maybe just aren't capable of reaching out enough times so they can get out of their pit. But some people do get out. Some people can reach out enough and get out of their pit. But there's a very good amount of people who I'd say try to ask for help. They get a response. It's not the correct response. And then just sometimes they get worse over time. If nothing seems like it's turning out for the better or nothing seems to be changing, then their situation gets worse. And the previous statement of is life worth continuing seems to become even more questionable. But with some people, you can get out, some people you can't, and some people literally cannot find a reason to continue. And some can find that reason, and to those who find the reason, they can either grab that reason and get to it so then they could change for the better. Some people are stuck in their current situation to the point they cannot reach that reason. And since they can't reach that reason, it gets even more worse. So combine all of that, it branches. You could have There's a lot of patterns you can reach. You can either find the solution very early on, or you can get to the middle and be at a crossroad, and you can either succeed or not. And if you don't, you go deeper. And the deeper you go, the worse your situation gets. And the worse your situation gets, the worse your reasoning is for continuing life. Majority of it would probably be adulting. I'd say that be probably the most reasonable conclusion for most people would be that adulting is hard, or living life and working a regular 9 to 5 is hard. And some people don't have the motivation to continue and maybe get out of this day to day waste of time. And it just makes you feel significantly worse about yourself. To those people, awesome, honestly. To be able to get out of that situation makes it a whole lot better that you can grab at those strings and pull yourself out. Some people cannot grab strings because there are no strings in sight. And when there are no strings in sight, it's not pretty. Some people will have the thoughts of stopping then and there, that they cannot continue. Their job is too hard, or their job that they are working is not good, whether it be for paying or the job's position itself is not good for your mental, which makes you spiral worse and worse. And just the spiral just keeps going. It gets worse. And if you pile on more things, like maybe let's say your living situation, what your potential future may look like, be it you move, you think you gotta find a different job that might be more challenging, but you need the money to continue living, or there's just some things you have to pay to maybe meet an expectation that's set in your mind because, well, you said it. Therefore, you have to meet it. And with that, there is a lot of challenge that is unnecessary, but you have to fight in order to challenge yourself to complete these unnecessary goals that are in your mind that could maybe or maybe not give you the push needed to get past problems. But some people also set these challenges subconsciously and then can't get out of it. And then when they can't get out of it, they then dig themselves a deeper hole, spiraling even further. And when they spiral further, it becomes significantly more difficult to go back to the original statement, which is why live, or why continue this path. And to that, it's really, honestly, really difficult. It's not something words can help. You know, actions do speak louder than words. And I can say for a fact that's definitely a step in the right direction. If you can take those actions, you can have greater odds of getting out of this downward spiral. And if you can get out of that downward spiral, then you could just maybe you can grab a string that others have to continue living. But that is, there's a select few who can and a select few who can't. To have all of these problems, work, living situation, not finding anything fun in life, or having things that you want to do that you know are fun, but can't do them given other problems that you have to face, but you can't face them because you can't find motivation. It's an endless back and forth of determining whether or not you have the ability to fight or not. Your brain does not think it can fight and you just give up, or your brain just shuts off and you can't think. You can't think of any way of how to get out of this pit. There's no strings, there's nothing. You're just stuck falling consistently until just maybe this sliver of hope appears and either somebody helps you or you find an out. A very magical and rare out that may or may not come. And a lot of people never find that sliver of hope or way out. And it does suck. You know, you get into adulting, you become an adult, you think you're more free, but you're more locked down. And yes, the people who do say that is life, they are right to an extent. But when somebody is in this downward spiral, hearing the words that is life does not help. You know, I, for one, think that it doesn't help at all. In fact, I think it negatively impacts how you perceive things because you may think that those people who say that don't really know what you're thinking, so they tell you a sort of scripted response to get out of this situation because, you know, not everybody likes to talk to a person who is going into this downward spiral of the question of why live, but, or why keep going, or why do anything for that matter in life. And to those people who do say that, it's sort of justified. I mean, not everybody is going to be able to immediately handle that level of problems or emotion, I guess, that quickly and to be able to respond immediately. So their brain falls back to a coded response, a sort of coded response. So it's justified. But sometimes, well, most of the time, a different response would be better because that person came to you, however long it took them, that person came to you for help, seeking some sort of words that could maybe help them, or maybe, if you were that type of person, help them yourself with actions to get them out of this, to take their hand, be that string, and pull them out yourself. The world is cruel. Not a lot of people are willing to grab the hand and pull the person out. And some people just hope that they can get out themselves and find the string. But with that, those people those people who can pull the person out. If you find that person, that is that is your way out and your sliver of hope. Because that person, if they are willing to grab your hand and pull you out, then that means they are kind enough to help you with any problem that you may occur with. But you don't know. That person may be doing it out of the kindness of their heart while having their own problems. But they could be minor, they could be major. You never really know unless you ask them directly. And if they are having their own problems and you find out and they are major, then you can feel more guilty about it. Or if you already know that they have problems and then they reach out, that could make it worse because then you feel guilty about it. And feeling guilty while being in a downward spiral is terrible. It's not good. It's not a good feeling on top of everything else that's going on with your life. So you can either ignore it, which, you know, some people just do it subconsciously. They ignore it and try just maybe try and get them out themselves. Or they can be selfish or greedy depending on what that other person's situation is, and they could take their hand. Now, overthinking is definitely a huge problem. You could have multiple problems with your mental state that counteract each other that prevents you from getting out of this hole. Overthinking, social anxiety, or just regular anxiety can make you over social anxiety or just regular anxiety helps you not in a good way, but it makes you overthink, and then that overthinking leads back to hating yourself for doing that overthinking in the first place because you question why was that necessary? You didn't have to do that. You could have just let it go. But your brain chose to not let it go and linger on it for minutes, hours, days, weeks, however long. And that could make you feel terrible. And with you feeling terrible, it can lead to significantly worse feelings than you already had, leading back to that downward spiral, pulling you deeper and deeper until you just can't find an out anymore. And when you can't find an out, then all you can really do, if you can't find an out and there's no motivation left for you to maybe try and just maybe see if you can do something about your situation, if there's none of that, then really all you have to do is just hope. If you can just grab on to maybe the smallest sliver to continue living. But some people can't do that. Some people fail to find that sliver. And to anybody who magically watches this video, myself included, struggle to hold on to that sliver. Every day, it's a struggle between your mindset, what you should be doing, what you know you should be doing, but fail to find the motivation to do it, and struggle to ask for assistance if it's needed, which then leads to you just running the day to day on a empty brain, nothing going on. You feel more and more empty, and then you feel useless, and then it just gets worse and worse. It's never fun. And to anybody who ever watches this, honestly, I hope you never have to go through that. I'm 19 and I'm talking about this. So it's not the greatest example. It's not like I'm some old guy speaking from experience, decades of experience. I've been working for almost a year now at my job, and I have already gone through a transfer because my previous job shut down and I had to transfer stores. And during that time frame, I was very close to ending it. Very. Like, it was in my head every day. But I managed to not because the people I thought of, I didn't want them to just think about it at all. I didn't want them to maybe just feel sad or guilty or anything of the sorts. Didn't want any of that. So I chose not to. Some people may not have that those types of people in my life in their lives. For me, it was my family, my siblings. We already have gone through so much growing up. I didn't want them to deal with another problem. And I still don't. And they may even watch this. And if they do watch this, I won't say anything. If they reach out to me, then they reach out to me. Will I respond? Who's to say? But some people don't have those people in their lives. And without help to get out, if you're that deep, it is not, it's not, you're in a really bad spot. And to those people, I could only hope. That's all I can really do. I'm just a dude running around in a Minecraft world, eating bread. Not really, I don't have much of a say. And I don't have much standing on this platform. You know, I have 3 videos. I'm just doing stuff. I really want to keep going with this YouTube, but my job makes me lose the motivation. And I can only record so late at night when everybody is sleeping, which all my energy's gone, which is why I'm making this video right now. But life is hard, and only so few of people can get themselves out of that hole of life is hard. They can grab it, they can grab the strings, they can take a hand, they can ask for help, and they can keep living. But there's a lot of people who can't. But to answer the question, is it worth it? There really isn't an answer. It is purely situational. To continue living or to not continue living depends on the person. For me, a 19-year-old who has been struggling with this exact question for roughly 2 years now, I can't say for sure if it's worth it. I can't even see myself in 3 months, 5 months, next year even. I can't see myself. So all these people at my workspace talking about when I get to their age, I don't even see myself even being remotely close to 70 or at 80 or 90. I can't even see myself turning 20, which is not pleasant at all. And if I do turn 20, it's not going to be fun unless I can grab that string. And if I can grab that string, I pray that I can soon. I really do. And to anybody who's watching, I also hope that you can grab that string. So, with that, I do hope you can grab that string. Bye bye.